The match came through on a rainy Thursday night in early April, right when Eli Mercer had almost given up on dating apps for good. He had been scrolling mindlessly through profiles while half watching an old crime documentary in his apartment outside Blackmere, Pennsylvania. Most conversations on the app fizzled out within hours. Some were bots, some disappeared after one reply. Others felt painfully forced. Then he matched with Claire Whitmore. Her profile looked refreshingly normal. No heavily filtered selfies, no exaggerated poses. Just a woman with shoulder-length dark hair and a quiet smile standing beside a lake in one photo, holding a coffee cup in another, and laughing with what looked like coworkers at an office holiday party. Her bio simply read, "Marketing coordinator, amateur hiker, coffee addict, looking for something real." Eli almost didn't message her, but something about her profile felt grounded. He sent a simple opener. "Favorite hiking trail?" She replied 10 minutes later, "Depends. Are we talking scenic or survivable?" That made him laugh. Their conversation flowed naturally after that. They talked about local restaurants, their mutual hatred of small talk, favorite movies, and the weirdness of online dating. Claire had a dry sense of humor that Eli liked immediately. She never pushed for personal details too quickly. She wasn't overly eager. For once, it felt real. After 5 days of steady conversation, she suggested they meet. "There's this place called Marlowe's downtown. Quiet atmosphere, great food. Wednesday at 7? Eli agreed. By Wednesday evening, he was surprisingly nervous. He spent too long choosing a shirt, changed twice, and even checked his reflection in the rearview mirror before stepping out of his car. Marlowe's sat on a dimly lit corner of Blackmere's historic district, tucked between an antique bookstore and an empty florist shop. Inside, warm amber lighting glowed against dark wooden walls. Eli texted her. "Just parked." No response. He stepped inside and waited near the hostess stand. 5 minutes passed, then 10. He checked his phone again. Nothing. At 15 minutes, embarrassment began creeping in. The hostess gave him a sympathetic glance. "Would you like a table while you wait?" "I'm meeting someone," he said. She nodded politely. At 25 minutes, he sent another message. Inside, near the entrance. Still nothing. Now he felt ridiculous. He was debating whether to leave when the front door opened. A stocky man in a black jacket walked in, shaking rainwater from his hood. He looked to be in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered with stubble and tired eyes. He scanned the room before walking directly towards Eli. "Eli Mercer?" The question instantly put him on edge. "Yes?" He gave a brief nod. "I'm Nolan, Claire's older brother." Eli frowned. "She's not feeling well. Migraine hit her hard about 30 minutes ago." He spoke calmly, almost apologetically. "She didn't want to cancel on you after setting this up. Asked if I could come grab you and bring you over. We live 5 minutes away." Eli stared at him. The explanation sounded plausible enough, but something felt off. "Why didn't she text me?" Nolan sighed. "Her phone died. She was charging it when I left." He smiled faintly. "She was pretty upset, honestly. Didn't want you thinking she stood you up." Eli hesitated. There was no immediate alarm bell, nothing overtly threatening. Still, the entire situation felt strange. "What's the address?" Eli asked. Nolan's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "I can just drive you." "I'd rather meet there myself. It's confusing to find. I've got GPS." The man held his gaze for a moment. Then he chuckled softly. "Look, man, it'll be easier if you just ride with me." Something tightened in Eli's stomach. He took a half step back. "I think I'll just reschedule." The warmth vanished from Nolan's face. He didn't move immediately. Then he stepped slightly sideways, just enough to block Eli's path towards the door. Not aggressively, just enough. "Claire specifically asked me to bring you." The words were soft, but there was something underneath them, something cold. Eli's pulse quickened. "I'll text her later." For 3 long seconds, neither of them moved. Then Nolan stepped aside. "Your call?" His voice had changed, flat now, almost disappointed. Eli muttered a quick goodbye and walked straight out. He could feel the man watching him. The sensation stayed with him all the way to his car. Once inside, he locked the doors immediately. As he backed out of the parking space, he glanced towards the restaurant entrance. Nolan stood under the awning, hands in his pockets, staring directly at him, watching. Eli drove home unsettled but tried to rationalize it. Maybe it had genuinely been an awkward misunderstanding. Maybe Claire would explain. At 10:47 p.m., his phone buzzed. A message from Claire's profile. "Why did you leave?" Eli sat upright in bed. He typed quickly. "Your brother said you were sick and wanted me to come to your place." The reply came instantly. "I don't have a brother." Eli's stomach dropped. He stared at the screen. His fingers moved. What? He came to Marlowe's black jacket, said his name was Nolan. Several minutes passed. Then, "That wasn't me." A final message appeared. "Please tell me you didn't go with him." "No." After that, silence. Eli sent 3 more messages. No response. Around midnight, exhaustion finally pulled him into shallow sleep. At 1:18 a.m., his phone erupted with notifications. Email login attempt, banking app password reset request, Instagram login verification, one after another. His chest tightened. Someone was trying to access everything. He scrambled out of bed and changed every password he could think of. Email, social media, banking, cloud storage, even his food delivery apps. By morning, his nerves were shredded. He opened the dating app to message Claire again. Her profile was gone, deleted, no chat history, nothing. At noon, an unknown number texted him. "You should have trusted me." Eli froze. A second message arrived. Claire was waiting. He blocked the number instantly. 10 minutes later, another text came from a different number. "You made this difficult." His hands started shaking. Over the next hour, 5 more messages appeared, each from a different number, short, cryptic, threatening without being explicit. Then came the one that made his blood run cold. Elias Mercer. His full legal name. Not Eli, not the nickname from his profile. The name attached to his banking records. Only a handful of people used it. He sat frozen at his kitchen table staring at the message. Someone had more information than they should. That evening, he told his roommate, Grant, everything. Grant frowned. "This is police-level weird." "I know. You should report it." "And say what? Someone catfished me?" Grant had no answer. That night, around 11:30, there was a knock at their apartment door. One slow, deliberate knock. Then silence. Eli and Grant exchanged looks. Another knock followed, harder. Grant approached the peephole. His expression changed. There's nobody there. The hallway was empty. Then they heard it. Heavy footsteps descending the stairwell. Slow, measured, as if whoever had knocked wanted them to know they'd been there. Eli didn't sleep at all. The next morning, he called Marlowe's and described Nolan. The hostess became quiet. Then she said something that made Eli grip the phone tighter. "One of our servers mentioned a guy in a black jacket pacing outside for almost an hour before you arrived." Eli's mouth went dry. He never came in until he walked straight to you. That meant he had been waiting, watching, planning. And somehow he knew exactly who Eli was the moment he walked through those doors. That night, as Eli sat alone in his apartment replaying every detail, his phone buzzed again. Unknown number. This time there was no text, just a photo. A grainy image taken through Marlowe's front window. Him standing at the hostess stand, looking down at his phone. The timestamp in the corner read 7:14 p.m. Beneath it, one line of text. "Next time, don't walk away."
And at that exact moment, someone knocked on his apartment door.
The knock came again. 3 slow taps against the apartment door. Eli stared at it from the far end of the living room, his phone still glowing in his trembling hand. The image of himself standing inside Marlowe's remained on the screen, along with the message beneath it. "Next time, don't walk away." Another knock. Grant looked up from the kitchen table, where he had been pretending to study while secretly keeping an eye on Eli all evening. "You expecting someone?" Eli could barely speak. He turned the phone around and showed him the screen. Grant's face drained of color. What the hell? The third knock hit harder than the first 2, a deliberate, heavy thud that rattled the thin wood of the apartment door. Grant immediately stood. "Don't open it." "I wasn't planning to." The apartment fell silent except for the faint hum of the refrigerator. Then came the sound of footsteps shifting outside. Not walking away, pacing, back and forth across the hallway. Slow, patient, as though whoever stood out there knew exactly what effect they were having. Grant moved toward the peephole. Eli grabbed his arm. "Don't." Grant hesitated, then ignored him and leaned forward. The second his eye reached the peephole, he recoiled. There's someone standing right up against it. Eli's stomach dropped. What? "I can't see anything. They're too close." Another thud struck the door. Then a voice, low, male, muffled through the wood. "Eli." The way it was said made his blood turn to ice. Not loud, not angry, almost conversational, like someone greeting an old friend. Grant backed away immediately. "Call the cops." Eli's fingers fumbled as he dialed. The dispatcher answered quickly, and he explained everything in short, panicked bursts. While he was still on the phone, the voice came again. "Open the door." The handle jiggled, once, twice, then stopped. The dispatcher told him officers were on the way. For nearly 4 minutes, neither Eli nor Grant moved. Then, the footsteps retreated, slowly descending the stairwell. By the time police arrived, the hallway was empty. The responding officers searched the building and surrounding lot but found no one. They took Eli's statement, copied the messages, and examined the photo. One officer frowned. "This was taken from outside the restaurant?" "Yes. Whoever sent this was watching you for a while." Eli didn't sleep that night, or the next. For 3 days, nothing happened. No texts, no knocks, no strange cars lingering outside. The silence somehow felt worse, like the pause before a storm. On the 4th morning, Eli left for work earlier than usual. As he approached his car, he noticed something tucked beneath the windshield wiper. A folded black envelope. His breath caught. He looked around the parking lot. Empty. The envelope had Eli's name written across it in neat block letters. Inside was a single printed photograph. It showed him asleep in bed, taken through his bedroom window. The angle was impossible unless the photographer had been standing on the fire escape directly outside. On the back, written in black ink, "You looked peaceful." Eli nearly dropped it. He called the police again. This time, they took things more seriously. An officer inspected the fire escape and found fresh scuff marks near Eli's window. But there were no fingerprints, no fibers, nothing usable. The building manager reviewed hallway camera footage. The cameras had gone offline for 2 hours the previous night. A wiring malfunction. Convenient. That was the day Eli moved into Grant's cousin's house across town. He couldn't stay there anymore. He changed his phone number, deleted every social media account he had, closed his dating profiles. For a while, it worked. The messages stopped. Weeks passed, then a month. Life slowly regained something resembling normalcy. Until late May. Eli was leaving work just after sunset when he noticed a dark sedan parked across the street from the office lot. Its headlights were off, engine idling. The second he looked toward it, the car pulled away. He tried convincing himself it meant nothing. Then, he He saw it again 2 days later, parked outside the grocery store. And again the following week near Grant's cousin's house. Always at a distance, always gone the moment he focused on it. He started documenting everything: dates, times, locations. The police still had no leads. Then came the break. One Friday afternoon, Detective Sarah Whitlock called. "We found something." Eli drove to the station immediately. Whitlock sat him in a small interview room and slid a printed file across the table. "We traced one of the spoofed numbers used to text you. It pinged through a relay server connected to a local public library." Eli frowned. "So?" She turned the file toward him. The still image showed a broad-shouldered man in a dark hoodie, mid-40s, stubble, heavy weight. Nolan, or whoever he really was. Eli's pulse hammered. "Did you find him?" Whitlock's expression darkened. "No." She tapped another page. "But we identified him." The name listed was Martin Vale, age 47, no fixed address, 3 prior arrests for fraud and identity theft, no convictions. Then Eli noticed something else: a list of missing persons reports attached to the file. 3 men, all between 28 and 35. All disappeared after arranging dates through various apps across neighboring counties. His mouth dried dry. "Are you saying—" "We can't prove anything," Whitlock interrupted. "But all 3 had recent contact with fake female profiles." Eli felt sick. The room suddenly seemed smaller. "If I'd gone with him—" Whitlock didn't answer. She didn't need to. The implication hung heavily in the silence. Police launched a regional search. Martin Vale vanished completely. No digital footprint, no financial activity, no sightings. Like he had dissolved into air. Months passed. Summer faded into fall. Eventually, Eli began piecing his life back together. He moved to Pittsburgh. New apartment, new job, new routines. He told almost no one what had happened. Some memories are easier to bury than explain. Then, 8 months later, on a freezing January night, he came home to find a package sitting outside his apartment door. No postage, no return address, just his name. His hands shook as he carried it inside. The box contained only one thing: a cheap burner phone. It was already powered on. The screen displayed a single unread message from an unknown sender. Eli opened it. It contained only a photo, a recent one, taken from across the street, him unlocking his apartment building's front entrance earlier that evening. Below it, one final message: "Blackmere was your warning." His blood ran cold. The phone buzzed again. Incoming call. Unknown number. For several seconds, Eli simply stared. Then, against every instinct screaming at him not to, he answered. Static crackled on the other end. Then, a familiar voice. Low, calm, almost friendly. "You should have let me drive you that night." The line went dead. Police traced nothing. The burner phone held no prints, no useful data, nothing. Eli moved again 2 weeks later. Different city, different state. He stopped using his real name online, stopped sharing his location, stopped trusting digital introductions. To this day, he still wonders why Martin Vale let him go, why he kept watching instead of finishing whatever he had planned. Sometimes he thinks the answer is worse than anything he can imagine. Maybe he wasn't trying to scare him. Maybe this was all part of the game, the chase, the fear, the slow unraveling of someone's sense of safety. And maybe somewhere out there, another man is standing nervously inside a restaurant, checking his phone, while a stranger in a black jacket waits outside in the rain.
The text came 32 minutes before the date. "Running late. Parking around back. Meet me there? My car's acting weird." Dylan Mercer stared at the message while sitting in his car outside the glowing neon sign of Ashwick Arcade and Tap Room, his thumb hovering over the screen. Something about it felt wrong. Not obviously wrong. Not enough to make him immediately peel out of the lot and head home. Just off. The kind of subtle unease your brain tries to dismiss because it sounds ridiculous when spoken out loud. He looked up through the windshield. The arcade bar sat at the edge of town, where Ashwick's downtown district faded into neglected warehouse blocks and stretches of dense pine woods. On weekends, the place was usually packed, crowded enough that finding parking near the front entrance was almost impossible. Tonight, though, only 3 cars occupied the lot. The building's front windows glowed with soft blue and red arcade lights, but from where Dylan sat, he could barely see movement inside. His phone buzzed again. "Please hurry, I think my battery's dying." Dylan frowned. He glanced toward the narrow side lane that curved around the building. The rear lot was hidden from view, blocked by a rusted chain-link fence and a row of overflowing dumpsters. Not exactly the ideal spot for a first-date rescue mission. He typed back quickly. "Why don't you just come inside?" 3 dots appeared, then vanished, then appeared again. Finally, "Can't. Car won't start. Please." Dylan leaned back against his seat. He had spent the last year trying to get comfortable dating again after his breakup with Hannah. 4 years together, then 6 ugly weeks of arguments and accusations before it ended. By the time his friends convinced him to download dating apps again, he felt like he'd forgotten how this worked, how to flirt, how to read signals, how to trust people. Then he matched with Lena Brooks on Hinge. Her profile seemed refreshingly normal. A brunette with warm brown eyes and an easy smile. Photos hiking trails around northern Pennsylvania. One picture holding a ridiculously oversized trout, another laughing at what looked like a family barbecue. No over-filtered selfies, no cryptic one-line bio. Just elementary school teacher, coffee addict, terrible at bowling, but weirdly competitive about it. Their conversation clicked almost immediately. Easy jokes, fast replies, actual back and forth. After 4 days of messaging, Dylan suggested meeting. She picked Ashwick Arcade, casual enough to keep things low pressure. He'd liked that. Now he was starting to wish he'd pushed for somewhere else. His phone rang. Lena. He answered immediately. "Hey." For a moment, only static answered. Then a woman's voice, breathing hard. "Dylan?" "Yeah." "Oh my God, thank you. I'm around back. My car died and it won't restart." The connection crackled. "Can't you just call roadside?" "My phone's at 2%. Something about her voice sounded strained. Not frightened, exactly. More rehearsed. Like someone trying to sound stressed. "Can you just help me for 1 second?" The line disconnected. Dylan stared at the phone. A cold knot formed in his stomach. He looked again toward the alley wrapping around the building. Dark. Silent. No headlights. No movement. His instincts screamed at him to leave, but another part of him argued he was being paranoid. If Lena really was stranded, leaving would make him look ridiculous. He texted his best friend, Connor. "If I disappear, tell people I got murdered at Ashwick Arcade." Connor's immediate reply was, "Lol, dramatic. Date bad already?" Dylan typed, "Something feels weird. Girl says her car died behind building." Connor's response came instantly. "Then don't go back there, genius." Dylan stared at the message. Simple. Obvious. Exactly what he needed to hear. He shifted into reverse. At that exact moment, another text arrived. "I can see your car. Why are you leaving?" His blood froze. He looked around sharply,
The front lot was empty, except for his sedan and 2 pickup trucks. No one stood near the windows. No faces peered through the glass. Yet, somehow, someone had eyes on him. He slammed the car into drive. The tires squealed as he accelerated toward the exit. And that was when they appeared. 2 figures in black rushed from the alley beside the building. Both wore dark hoodies, their faces hidden behind ski masks. One sprinted directly toward the driver's side. The other raised his arm. Something flashed through the air. A violent crack exploded across his rear windshield. Glass sprayed across the back seat. He ducked instinctively and floored it. The car fishtailed onto the street before catching traction. In his rearview mirror, the masked men stood at the edge of the lot, watching him disappear. Neither tried to chase him. Neither moved. They simply stood there, as if they had expected him to stop. As if they were disappointed he hadn't. Dylan didn't stop driving until he reached his apartment 15 minutes away. His hands shook so badly he could barely get the key into the building's front entrance. Inside his unit, he locked the deadbolt and finally let himself breathe. Then he checked his phone. 5 unread messages from Lena. "Why did you leave?" "That was rude. I was really stuck." Then, "You made this harder than it needed to be." And finally, "You should have just come around back." Dylan blocked the number immediately. He contacted police and filed a report. An officer arrived an hour later, took his statement, and inspected the shattered rear windshield. Could have been teenagers messing around. Dylan stared at him. Teenagers wearing ski masks coordinated with a fake dating profile? The officer didn't answer. Instead, he handed Dylan a case number and promised they'd look into it. They never followed up. The next morning, Dylan opened Hinge. Lena's profile was gone. Deleted. No trace. He spent the next several days trying to convince himself it had been an isolated scam, a setup for robbery. Nothing more. Still, unease lingered. Then on Tuesday night, Connor came over with beer and pizza. Dylan recounted everything. Connor listened carefully. When he finished, his friend frowned. "Did you reverse image search her photos?" Dylan blinked. "No." "Dude." They sat down at his laptop. It took less than 10 minutes. Every single photo from Lena's profile belonged to a lifestyle influencer from Oregon. The account had over 90,000 followers. Real person, fake profile. Dylan felt nauseous. Connor leaned back. "So whoever this was built the whole thing. Why?" Connor gave a grim shrug. "Robbery? Kidnapping? Human trafficking? Pick your nightmare." Dylan laughed nervously, but neither of them actually found it funny. Then Dylan's phone buzzed. Unknown number. A text. Just one sentence. "Next time, don't run." Connor's face paled as he read it. "Okay, that's not random." Dylan blocked the number. 3 minutes later, another text arrived from a different number. "We almost had you." Then another. "You looked scared." Then, "That was fun." His chest tightened. Connor looked toward the apartment windows. "You need to call the cops again." Dylan nodded. But before he could dial, a loud metallic bang erupted from outside. Both men jumped. It had come from the parking lot below. Dylan cautiously approached the window. His apartment overlooked the rear lot. Most spaces sat empty this hour. Under the dim yellow security lights, his car sat alone. And spray-painted across the driver's side door in thick black letters were 4 words. "Should have come back." Dylan stumbled backward. Connor was already dialing 911. As the operator answered, Dylan glanced out the window one last time. At the far edge of the lot, standing beneath the broken floodlight near the dumpster enclosure, was a figure in a black hoodie, watching his window, perfectly still. And then, slowly, it raised one gloved hand and waved.
Dylan couldn't move. The figure stood beneath the dead floodlight like it had been waiting for that exact moment, waiting for him to look out and notice it. Its raised hand remained frozen in a slow, deliberate wave. Then, the security light above the parking lot flickered once, twice, and when it steadied again, the figure was gone. "What did you see?" Connor asked, still on the phone with 911. Dylan backed away from the window, his throat dry. "Someone was down there." Connor's expression tightened. The dispatcher was already asking questions, but Dylan barely heard any of it. His pulse thundered in his ears. The spray-painted message on his car door had rattled him enough, but seeing someone standing there, close enough to know exactly which apartment was his, changed everything. This wasn't random harassment. This wasn't some failed robbery attempt. Whoever was behind the fake dating profile had followed him home that night from Ashwick Arcade, and now they were letting him know it. Police arrived within 12 minutes. 2 officers canvassed the lot, while another took their statements inside the apartment. By the time Dylan and Connor were escorted downstairs, the figure was long gone. No footprints, no witnesses, no camera footage. The apartment complex's exterior security system had been offline for nearly 3 weeks due to what management called a wiring issue. The black paint across Dylan's driver's side door was fresh enough to smear under a gloved finger. The officers photographed it, collected what little evidence they could, and then, frustratingly, gave the same answer Dylan had already heard. "Off the record?" he said quietly. Dylan nodded. "I'd stay somewhere else for a few nights." That was all he needed to hear. Dylan spent the next week crashing on Connor's couch across town. He barely slept. Every vibration from his phone made his stomach clench. Most messages came from random burner numbers. Some said nothing. Others contained short, unsettling sentences. "Still hiding? We know where you work. You looked better in person." He blocked each number as it came. It didn't matter. New ones kept appearing. By Friday, he'd changed his phone number entirely. For 24 hours, the silence was almost enough to convince him it was over. Then he got home from work and found a small cardboard box sitting outside Connor's apartment door. No postage, no shipping label, just his name written across the top in thick black marker. Connor wasn't home yet. Dylan stood frozen in the hallway for nearly a minute before finally crouching and opening it. Inside was a shattered arcade token, a printed photograph, and a note. His blood turned cold. The photograph showed him sitting inside Ashwick Arcade on the night of the date. Taken through the front window, he was looking down at his phone, completely unaware. The timestamp in the corner showed it had been taken 12 minutes before Lena texted him to meet around back. On the back of the photo were 4 handwritten words. "You almost said yes." The note underneath was even shorter. "Round 2 soon." Dylan dropped everything and called police again. This time, they took the package seriously. A detective named Marissa Cole was assigned to his case. Unlike the patrol officers, she didn't brush it off. She studied every text, every screenshot of Lena's dating profile, every detail from that night. Then she asked one question that made Dylan's skin crawl. Did the woman ever send voice notes? He thought back. No. Any live follows, videos? Just profile pictures. Cole nodded grimly. This is organized. What does that mean? It means whoever built that profile has done it before. The room went silent. She explained that over the past 18 months, several men in neighboring counties had reported eerily similar incidents. Fake dating profiles, urgent requests to meet in isolated areas, suspicious circumstances. Most backed out at the last second. A few reported being chased. Another was found unconscious behind a motel outside Millbrook. He remembered nothing. No arrests had ever been made. The profiles always disappeared within hours.
Burner phones vanished. Digital trails ended almost immediately. "They're careful," Detective Cole said. "Who's they?" She hesitated. "We don't know." That answer haunted him most. For nearly 2 weeks, nothing happened. No texts, no packages, no sightings. Detective Cole advised him to continue staying with Connor. She also arranged temporary surveillance near the apartment complex. Still, no one appeared. Slowly, Dylan began to relax. The fear dulled. Routine returned. Then came the voicemail. It arrived at 2:17 a.m. on his new number. No caller ID, no words, just breathing. Slow, steady. And after 27 seconds, a woman's voice whispered, "Meet me around back." The message ended. Dylan nearly dropped his phone. Caller insisted they call Detective Cole immediately. She listened to the recording in silence, then asked, "Did that voice sound familiar?" He played it again, and this time he realized why it made his skin crawl. It was Lena's voice, or rather, the same voice from the phone call that night. Except now, it sounded flatter, artificial, almost stitched together. Cole's eyes narrowed. Synthetic voice generation. Dylan stared. "You mean AI?" "Likely." That revelation somehow made everything worse. Whoever was doing this wasn't just catfishing people. They were methodical, technical, prepared, and escalating. 3 nights later, they finally made their move. Detective Cole had arranged a controlled operation. Dylan would return to Ashwick Arcade at the exact same time as the original date, use a newly created dating profile baited to attract whoever was targeting local men. Undercover officers would monitor the area. If anyone showed up, they'd move in. Dylan hated every second of it, but he wanted this over. At 8:03 p.m., the bait profile sent the message. "Car trouble, meet around back." Exactly the same wording. His stomach twisted. He parked in the front lot while plainclothes officers waited inside and around the perimeter. At 8:11, his phone buzzed again. "I can see your car." Detective Cole's voice crackled through the hidden earpiece. "Stay put." Then came movement. 2 black-clad figures emerged from the alley, just like before, but this time, they didn't get far. Police units surged from every direction. Shouts filled the lot. One suspect bolted towards the woods. The other froze under the floodlights. As officers tackled him to the pavement, Dylan felt his breath catch. The man looked vaguely familiar. Heavyweight, patchy beard, gray beginning to show. Then it hit him. The bartender from Ashwick Arcade. The one who had served him that night. The man who had casually smiled as Dylan sat waiting for Lena. He had been there the entire time, watching, helping coordinate everything. Detective Cole's voice came through again. Suspect 1 in custody, second escaped. Dylan stared. There had always been at least 2, maybe more. The bartender was loaded into a squad car without a word. He never looked at Dylan, never spoke. Inside his apartment, investigators later uncovered enough fake profiles, burner devices, stolen IDs, and surveillance photos to link him to at least 6 similar operations. But the second suspect was never caught. No name, no face, no trail. Just gone. Dylan moved out of Ashwick less than a month later. New city, new apartment, new number. He deleted every dating app and never looked back. For almost a year, nothing happened. Until one rainy Thursday evening when he stopped at a gas station outside his new town. As he filled his tank, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. 1 text. 5 words. "Still don't like back doors?" He changed numbers again that same night. But sometimes, late at night, he still thinks about Ashwick Arcade, about the masked men, about the bartender smiling as if nothing was wrong, and about the second suspect who disappeared into the woods. Because every once in a while, when he catches movement in his rearview mirror while driving home after dark, he can't shake the feeling that someone is still there, waiting, watching, hoping that one day he'll finally come around back.